Hi, everybody. In our thoughts of today, I'll be exploring a theme how to cope with a day, how to go through the day in this particularly unusual situation we are all finding ourselves in. It is unusual because normally we do all sorts of things, but not to cope with a day. We may escape, we may fix it, we may run away. So various different people will have a different coping mechanism. And those coping mechanisms, in a sense, are taken away from us or will be taken away from us in a good measure, as a matter of fact. Let me just read you something from my book of wisdom, which I really, really love and often wonder about it. Let me just put my glasses on, that's very important. People who panic or get depressed usually do so because they have lost control. A diamond is a chunk of coal that make good under pressure. It was a wonderful, wonderful thought of becoming a diamond or a gold, that without a pressure of without a challenge, we may not get there. And as we are now bombarded with all sorts of words which are incredibly frightening for some of us, like a war, or be careful, or don't go anywhere, or hugely expressive, powerful words, we have to probably wonder about the words. Some of the people also sending us emails, and I actually I'm respecting that all sorts of companies are now sending me practically love letters. With some letters, I feel as if a lover writes to me. They are so caring and so concerned, everybody, suddenly. But I tell you what, when you really truly think about it, this kind of concern, it's maybe a bit too far-fetched, because you see, words have an enormous power to either seduce us or demolish us. So with these concerned letters, there is quite a lot of almost amusing texts. And the words are energy. And we're used to using a lot of words. Sometimes I think that we live in the times of prostituting words, that there are so many noises around us that we get bombarded with it, that we go into panic. So what do we do with the day? What do we do with this challenge which is coming upon us? How to structure a day? Maybe one of the things which I often wonder about and often talk about it is that you indeed keep it in a day. What does that mean, keep it in a day? Well, that means that you are, in a sense, having a day as if it is a new beginning. I, in my life, had quite a lot of stress and traumas, and I dare say that I would probably would not be able to cope with it if it wasn't for this simple philosophy, keep it in now or keep it in today. Many prophets, poets, thinkers and modern thinkers talk about the power of now. But it is easily said than done. It is something which we arrive at and not necessarily are ordered to be. So can we actually take on board to keep it in a day? Each of us have to find, in a way, modality to exist, and maybe, just maybe, also allow ourselves not to know what to do, because not knowing in a paradoxical way is also knowing. And if we lived in our head all our life, men and women, and if we are used to listening to the chatter of our head, it would be practically impossible for us to stop doing that. And basically, we will be finding a replacement for these activities, whether that would be WhatsApp or Instagrams or whatever, and we will constantly will go and see who else can tell us or fix us or where else to escape. So we maybe, just maybe, are invited to kind of be with ourselves a bit, and that might be doing nothing. At the beginning, especially for workaholics, busy people, there might be a lot of withdrawal symptoms, and we may collapse in a way. And we don't have shrinks to go and see, or unless you have shrink and you can Skype them. But this collapse or that panic which will set in is in the way to be expected, because anything which is out of ordinary, it creates unrest in us. And here we are asked to be in a space and situation which is out of ordinary. So we need to remember that we don't have to submit ourselves to a total meltdown, and think about it surrendering. Again, if we play with words, there's such a similar words, as I said to you last time, a response and reaction. Submission and surrender began with S, a totally different outcome. To submit, you can submit the papers, but if you submit yourself to anything, that means that you are collapsing in a position of victim. It takes a bit of consciousness and a bit of reflection to say, okay, I surrender to that reality. I am here. This is my day. It's out of my box. And now what do I do? Well, if you surrender, you immediately give yourself a space, a freedom to be by far more creative. And if that being creative, and you comprehend what it means to be creative, because it's not about just writing or painting or sculpturing, that's creative gifts and talents. But being creative is kind of an attitude to life, that you have a choice to be creative, to do nothing. And it's a paradox, isn't it? How do you supposed to be creative by doing nothing? Very easily. Because when you're creative, you will have no sense of guilt. The guilt would not be something you need to feel, because it would be your choice. So the point is, when we are together or on our own at home, is to, even in our day, because we can only live for today, is to have a choice. And if that choice means, I don't know what to do, I'm a bit panicking, I'm a bit unwell, I'm a bit scared, so this is how you feel. And you have a choice either to accept it or collapse. So choices are always a property of someone who is, again, an adult. But children don't have choices. The children's choices are made kind of by carers. But our choices, we have to take responsibility for. So if you go into choice and joyful living, which means full of joy or full of grief or full of panic or full of not knowing or full of knowing, this is what joyful means, then you will be much better off to cope with whatever day brings. And you may be absolutely bogged down with children, you may be driven to distraction by the husband who now sits and is with you once you were not used to having a husband around because he was always in the office. Or you might be in a position for a man to see what you can do with one of your children, whatever. So what to do with the day depends on your choices, on your freedom. That doesn't matter what you do. It's a matter of your feeling about it and your attitudes to it. And on that respect, I will read you something else from my little thoughts. This is a lovely little a saying by Seneca. If you are wise, you will mingle one thing with the other, not hoping without doubt, and not doubting without hope. Oh, Seneca was wise man. That means that mingling is precisely what probably is needed. And it's okay. Because what is important is to have joy and to have acceptance and to have a sense of life where you know that you're not here to be without hope or without doubt or without fear, but you are here to be open to accept it all. And that is an invitation. I see everything as invitation. Crises are always invitations, whether they are crises in the marriage or crises internal ones, or whether they're crises political ones, or whether they're social crisis. We have to see them as invitation, because that's where we will change and create something new. And that is how we as human beings move forward with our global consciousness. And since it's a global situation, isn't it? Since it's the global collapse, since there's a global invitation, we may as well take a challenge. And maybe, just maybe, at the grassroots, starting with ourselves and our families and our friends, we can see what we can do. A very nice Indian saying, which I like to quote, enjoy the pleasure bestowed on you and bear the pain bestowed on you. Wait patiently for what time brings, as does the farmer with the fruit. So, pazienza, everybody. And with that, I think with creativity, acceptance, reality, and openness, we can do whatever we like. Even with that, I believe that in any trial or tribulation, God will give us all the power we need to withstand it. But He does not give it in advance, lest we rely on ourselves alone. If we trust in Him, we can overcome all anxiety for the future. Let's say serenity prayer. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bye for now.